minutes. I'm going to call the meeting to order. 5:30. Has everyone, we approved the minutes? Has everyone read them from the last meeting?
Indeed. Move to approve.
I think, can I second?
No,
No, I can't, that's right.
you probably could, but it's better. I second.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Can I even vote? I don't even know.
You can abstain.
I can abstain. Okay.
All in favor, okay. New business, update status on property 17-002.
Okay, 17-002 is made, has gotten a lot of paperwork in this last month. I spoke to upstairs today. Everybody should have a copy of the letter that she sent me this afternoon. I confirmed everything with Lisa upstairs this afternoon. Most of the stuff that's left on her checklist is to be done by the demolition company, except for the 2 notarized affidavits for letters and newspaper post, which we already know that they have done. We have copies of everything. They just need the 2 affidavits to be notarized. So, and I do have a copy of the signed contract, which I believe the review board asked for a copy of it. So I do have that if you want to pass that around.
Oh, the secretary will accept that when you're done reading.
So it's official. They have
a contract. They've put 50% down. Like I said, there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items left on here for them to do. Most of them are for the demo company to do. One of those items, again, is the notarized affidavit that the letters have gone to the neighbors and the newspaper ad, which we know has already been done, but we just need the letters. It's formality.
And then one of them is actually for Marianne Castells to go out from the Historical Society and actually review the property, correct?
They've done that.
She has.
Oh, that was done months ago.
Awesome.
The Historical Society was one of the first to sign off.
Great.
On the property.
And sometimes take a little while. Okay, good.
So we're waiting for an asbestos survey, which I guess comes from the state. And a copy of the state form for the asbestos notification. A copy of the state form for the demolition notice from the state. Disconnect from Aquarian and disconnect from sewer. Those are the items that are being waited for, and there are demolition signs up on the house and the second structure, the storage structure there.
Is a time frame reasonable to say probably within 30 days?
I would imagine so.
Okay. So not like 60?
No,
More like 30.
I don't think so.
Nick, have you spoken to Mr. or Mrs.?
No, only Lisa has from the building. Again, the letter that everybody has is what was emailed to me today at 12:46. And I went upstairs and I went over the whole email with Lisa and the checklist that they have on their file up there.
So they have till, we had a hard date. I'm not looking right at it. So does that, the hard date was
April 28th, I think.
So that date we can extend?
That was, sorry, Nick, that was the date of which that property was going to start getting a fine?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
According
So
to your last meeting, yeah.
that date is passed.
The date is passed.
So,
But obviously, we didn't have a meeting until now.
Okay.
I thought it was later than that. Why?
You know, we had
Yeah,
some.
right here it says April 28th.
April 28th, that's the, so I don't know legally what happens with the letter that went out.
That's where Jim would be helpful, right?
Right. And we can talk with Wayne, but.
In my talks with Wayne early on this, the whole ordinance wasn't to be a moneymaker.
Right.
It was to have to push people to get
But if
their
you've
properties.
issued a letter that said a fee is gonna start
Right.
accumulating at that date, you probably have to issue another letter saying, because of the movement, there's a waiver of that fee.
Or we're pushing the date out.
Or you're pushing the date
Yeah.
out or whatever.
Another month.
But if we do it for one,
Well, the thing is
Each
that we have to
property
be,
is different.
we have to be very specific, because this particular property is making significant and demonstrable progress.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So we as a board, I think, can make the determination that we view that there's demonstrable
right,
movement towards remediation. We will give you an extra 30 days, which is what would be my proposal. I don't know if we should
well, I
probably
think,
run that
I
by
think we
Wayne.
should get
30 days
counsel.
from when?
Yeah, we should get
From
counsel.
the date of
on
the April 28th date, right? Because it has to be of that date.
I think we should talk to Wayne Fox or one of his, and we'll get his advice, what we should do.
I can tell you that from a code enforcement standpoint, from the fire marshal's office, that if we have code issues and that we see that the property owner, building owner, whatever, is making strides to correct the issues, we don't hit them with fines right away. We work with them. That's just another.
I just want to do it right. I think we all want to do it right. And we want to take the appropriate steps because the neighbor has waited and waited and
Yes.
waited, and we had dates that moved around a little bit. I think it's important that we take it legally in the right direction. Sounds good?
I move,
Oh, hold on.
yeah,
The Blight Prevention Officer may grant extensions to the timeframe for resolution of the probable violation as described in the warning. Such extensions may be related to performance
That's
of
the warning.
vendors, which is exactly what this is, extent of work, unusual conditions such as severe weather, insurance claims, or structural damage associated with storms like fire or other factors beyond the control of the property owner. Notice of extension shall be distributed following the procedure defined in the written notice.
I know that I knew that was there, but I think this is like the next step. I think that was when a warning was issued. Because I remember you did extend it. I think we should still get counsel on that.
The other thing is that, so violations of provisions of this ordinance shall be punishable by sinful that does not exceed $100 per day. Okay, so we can find that we're not gonna start fine, you are still in violation. However, the fine is gonna be $0 for the
That's
time,
true. Yeah,
right?
we could do that.
or $5 a day, or whatever.
Whatever,
Yeah,
right, $1 a day till.
I'll talk to Jim and then we'll get counsel on that, just to make sure we go through the appropriate steps.
Holly, you're right. The first part I read was after the issuing of the warning.
Warning, because I remember
You're
reading it
absolutely
because
right.
I
You're absolutely
supported
right. Yep.
what Nick was, you were giving them more time and I thought that was great. But then I think after this one letter, and I'm not positive that we just need to go about it in a appropriate way.
In the letter, it says within 30 days of this notice, failure to take corrective action within this time will result in an automatic citation being issued. Such a citation shall carry a penalty of $100 per day. It doesn't say up to in the letter.
I know it doesn't.
That's why I think you have to ask the lawyer how
Yeah.
the warning moved.
All right, even so, this is a deliberative action. So I think I'll make the motion, right? That we notify the property owner that the fee, the penalty fee is waived for 30 days.
With the idea of sending a letter
Yes.
of saying that to them.
Right, but the letter, so my motion will not include writing the letter, right?
Right.
I'll just say, we'll send a letter that has been checked with our town attorney, But we intend to waive the penalty
For 30 days.
for another 30 days.
Yeah,
If he advises us to do that.
Yeah, sure,
I mean,
of
he
course.
may, because we have 3 letters that went out, he'll rule on it. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think we will, yeah.
All right,
So here's my concern on that. If we're going to do that, I think that needs to be 30 days from when that letter is issued.
Correct.
Not the 28th, not the April 28th. Because if they don't get that letter until May 22nd, you said they have 30 days and it's May 28th, that's the 30-day mark.
No,
You're giving them
know
8
those
days, so I think.
I agree with Dan. I think it should be, because we gave them the 28th, so it should be as of the 28th, even though, but it's not going to affect them any because we're still not going to fine them. But like technically, they should be getting a $100
Well,
day
you
bill
can
right now.
say 30 days from the date of the previous
yeah,
letter or whatever,
Yeah.
and you
Is
already
there a
put a date
violation?
certain down.
And Nick, just because this is so new, and this is the first time we've done that, let's remember that if we send out another one of these, it's nobody's fault, we just didn't know. But I would say in the letter, instead of what Ally said, which is you will be fined $800 a day, it should be, because it reads, you will receive a penalty that does not exceed $100 per day.
Right. The only thing, this is a letter that was drawn up by our attorney.
I get it,
Yeah.
This is all new, it's all new,
Yeah.
nobody's fault.
That
Nobody's
was the
fault.
one
Oh, no, I'm
before
not-
the last one, I think, wasn't it? Or was
Yeah.
that the latest one? Yeah.
So we need to make sure that,
Yes,
and you want the attorney, the letter to come from the attorneys?
definitely,
And if so, then we need to make sure that they
yes.
state up to $100 a day.
Yeah, I'll talk to Jim. I think he's getting back tomorrow or the
Okay.
next day about, and then he can get in touch with the attorney.
Okay.
Okay, 17
just a minute. I made a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor? Yes, great. Sorry, Jim. Sorry. 17-005.
So I've been out to the property a couple of times. I met with the owner of the property twice. We walked around. He made notes of issues that needed to be dealt with. While I was there, I was able to talk to the husband of the tenant there and explain to him that things needed to be removed from the property, to which he said that he had a place to move stuff to. He has moved some of that stuff. The landlord has come back to the property and took away 2 truckloads of stuff from the property. Cleaned up the ledge area, stacked the wood. He's definitely made an improvement there. There's still, one of the vehicles is gone now. There's still one vehicle in the driveway which is not drivable. They currently don't have the money to fix it, so I don't think that's going anywhere anytime soon.
One vehicle's not a violation, I don't think.
Well, I mean, I think they have multiple vehicles, but they're all registered.
Yeah,
But
So-
you can have only one unregistered vehicle on your property, correct? Per the code.
Per the code, you can have one unregistered, but everything there is registered.
Okay, so in your opinion,
okay.
how many violations still remain?
I mean, there's still stuff on the outside of the house. I mean, they have done quite a bit of work. The husband did take stuff away. The right side of the house is looking better. I know they took all the patio furniture that was tossed behind the house. There's an improvement there. Is there still work to be done? Yes. But I now have a direct contact to the tenant's husband. I have a phone number for him. And landlord he and I have talked, been much closer over the last month.
So as a part of procedure, right, if we're gonna start issuing a fine as received in the letter, we need to know specifically what pieces of the code are still, what violations are still applicable, right?
Yeah, are there, is it
Mark
still
and
considered a blighted property officially? Yeah.
I think, Nick, unfortunately, you have to do an official walkthrough and identify the conditions that are still,
There's only one item left.
and what is that?
Persistent and excessive amounts of garbage, trash, or construction debris on the property, and most of it's been cleaned up. Unregistered vehicle is gone. Overgrown or weeds, grass, stuff like that, he cleaned off the whole ledge. That's all cleaned up. And the other structures that are significantly covered in invasive non-ornamental weeds or vines, including but not limited to poison ivy, and overrun by rodents and other pests. As far as we know, that's the other issue was rodents, and as far as we know, that's been taken care of.
Seems
Well,
like
one condition is not a violation.
it's true too.
Correct.
So I guess, Nick, you need to then issue an order or issue a memo to this commission or this board that says that the following conditions have been remediated. One remains, however, one does not constitute a violation, correct? Mark, am I?
Yeah, it has to have, is it 3?
2.
2.
Needs to.
Wow, that's great. That really is good. This was a sensitive one.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously I don't know the background. I did drive by the other day and it looked like it was pretty cleaned up from.
They've done a good job there. I mean, there's definitely a change from 2.5 weeks ago.
Well, and you engaging with them is what really made it.
Well,
We've been trying for a long time, but
Yeah.
obviously you.
You know, it was the first time I went out there 2.5 weeks ago and met with the landlord that the wife got the husband on the phone for me. And that's the first time we've had any contact with him.
Okay.
We've been dealing with the wife because of other issues with.
Now, the status of this situation is that he also got a letter saying that he had to correct it by
Right.
4/28, right?
I think
Shall we just consider that he's done it? We don't have to waive any fees, I don't
Right,
think.
because he's remediated.
But we ought to let
Send him
him,
a letter.
send him a letter.
I was told that the items that were kind of strewn on the property were the owner of the property, not the tenant. Did you hear it differently?
I think it was a mixture of both.
Okay.
Because stuff up on the hill was the owner's, correct? And then right near the house, I believe, was the tenant's.
Yes.
So has the owner gotten some of his things, or is it just the tenant?
Oh no, he's cleaned up stuff there also.
Great.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think you'll have to watch that property, or?
I would move it to the watch list.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
So, Mark, do we need to make a motion that at the recommendation of the blight control officer, that there only is one condition that remains, which does not constitute blight, and we're going to close this case and move it to the watch list?
That's your motion,
Yep.
and I'll second it.
Okay.
Good. 18-004.
On to the hard one.
Oh, yes.
Stand by for just.
Kevin.
And if you want to make copies after the meeting,
Yeah,
take
that would
it
be
to the
great.
office,
Thank you.
whatever you want.
Actually, Nick, at the end,
Yes.
can you send us all an updated version?
I think I sent one right after the last meeting, but I'll do it again.
Well, now that we're closing
Oh, yes.
one
Yep.
and include Anna on it, that would
Yep.
be awesome.
I will get her contact info after the meeting, and yep, I'll do that tomorrow. make changes and send it out tomorrow.
Yeah, because I think you just need to turn that
yellow.
1805 to yellow. Cool.
I'm sorry, your secretary missed that because he was still taking notes on the previous action.
I'm just gonna
What did I miss?
update the blight list and make the change to that, to property 17-005.
That's fine.
And send it out to you guys tomorrow.
Thank you, sorry about that.
18-004, I've been in contact there on several occasions, been out there a couple times. Jim and I went out there also about 2 weeks ago. He has tried to make things look better over on his property. If you look at the property, I mean, the back is definitely neater, things are organized, straightened out. But a lot of it he's just covered with tarps. We've played phone tag. The last message I left with him is, was pretty much a thank you for getting things organized there, but just covering things with tarps does not get rid of the issues at hand. And that was last week. I've not heard back from him yet on that. I do know that he's out of town at this time.
So he's still blighted.
He is still blighted.
And what are the conditions, as per your letter, that still remain? Are there some that have been remediated and some remain?
I think he's just covered things up.
He's pretty much just covered.
There's tons
So
of tarps.
so nothing off that list got. Okay.
And I've had several discussions with planning and zoning too. He's only allowed to have 3 recreational vehicles there. There's more than that. He's not supposed to be storing anybody else's property there. I don't know if it's all his property or not.
That's zoning though, right? I mean, that's not on our list of blight conditions.
Well, part of it is. Part of it is under blight, stuff that's not registered. If you have more than, but we really don't have a formal way of knowing if it's all registered or not unregistered unless we go up there and take numbers.
Yeah.
Which I don't have the authority to do that.
Is the motorcycle that's hanging off the side of the building a blight issue or danger issue?
It's an issue.
Okay.
I know what he
It's
calls
blight.
it.
I think it's blight, yeah.
I would say it's blight. He calls it a Christmas ornament because it's wrapped in Christmas lights. So,
Creative.
yes.
It's May.
Maybe we
I-
talk to Wayne also about where we go with this.
Yeah.
Or just let time take its course. He will be fined.
Is the motorcycle registered?
The moped?
The
Not
one
sure.
that's hanging on the house?
I don't think it has all the wheels on it. Or is it?
No. Yeah, I don't know if it's
I
registered
mean,
or
other than
not.
that,
I haven't paid attention to see if there's a license plate on it or not.
other than that, I don't think it's my business. I don't think it's blight business. I really,
I think
Don't wanna
that
go
the
there.
neighbors would beg to differ.
why?
Then we have to. Well, I think the code is what we should go by.
Right, exactly. And I think that is,
And I know there's been several conversations with upstairs between them and
Yes.
him and the
Yeah.
neighbor. And
By
two of the
upstairs, you mean
neighbors.
zoning? Zoning enforcement?
No, selectman's office.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think I know all the particulars of the discussions, so I don't
Well, they don't
want to
pertain
speak
to
on
us
that.
because they haven't talked to us about them.
how many unregistered
just
vehicles?
continue.
Don't know.
You don't know. Because how many did you say you're allowed to have? 3?
One
No, 1.
One unregistered.
unregistered is what the planning and zoning
Right.
code calls for. The blight says that if you have even one, that it can be marked as your second thing toward blight.
Oh, I see.
Oh.
Now, I do tend to disagree with that, because your planning and zoning law says that you can have one. So for me, how do you argue that in court? If this were to go to court, you're contradicting yourself with this other.
Right.
So I've always looked at it as two. You're allowed one. You have two. But again, I have no way of knowing if those are registered or unregistered.
When we sent the letter out, we had a list of items when he got the warning, or they got the warning, and then after that, it was that the conditions still exist. And does that condition still exist?
All four conditions still exist.
I think we need to, again, have a conversation with
With Wayne?
Wayne and say,
Because I don't know where you go with that.
right,
Yeah.
Now, he's been warned that there will be penalties. As
He got a letter, yeah.
Yes.
he got a penalty
Yeah.
as
They all
of
the same.
They all got
All
the
April
same
28th,
All three properties
Yeah.
that we're,
for April 28th.
yes.
Yeah.
And has it been determined, because I did watch your last meeting, as to who is responsible for levying the fine and collecting the fine?
The town,
The town?
We'll figure that out.
yeah. Yeah, the town. But Wayne, yeah, we'll get his advice again on this. Or maybe it's out of our hands now and it might go into the hands of somebody
that
else.
was my thought.
Yeah, true. Okay. You agree? Yeah.
I don't know, I'm still thinking. We may need a special meeting because we may not want to wait another month,
Right.
which we can do, of course. We also have, we could assess a penalty. It doesn't have to be $100,
Right.
right?
But I think,
And it can be waived later.
But a letter has already gone out,
yes.
right?
Yeah?
He's had several letters, most of these, and warnings and then violations. You are now in violation of, so they've clearly been warned. I think,
You're in penalty mode at this point.
right,
Yeah, now, I'm listening to what Kevin says because he's more experienced in some of these matters from having served in that P&Z for so long. But there's been so much time gone by on this thing. Well, not so much really. A year. In Blight Review Board time, that's not so much time.
a year in, and how many letters did you issue? We issued, what, 2 or 3? And then,
I probably did 3 or 4.
yeah. And I think the neighbors that I'm hearing from, it's really getting very rough on all of them for what's going on there on the property.
I think we're sensitive to that, right?
Yes.
We get it.
Yeah,
I think it's more
that's
of a
kind of why
procedural
we
point
have
at this
the
point, right?
ordinance.
Yeah.
I recommend we consult with town council on
Yeah.
how to proceed with next steps. Right, Mark?
I agree. I agree.
Either that or assess the penalty.
I
And we'll
think
figure out how to
still
do
we
we'll
have
But
figure
we
out
don't
how to
even
do
know
it.
if we're able to do that,
Yeah.
right? We don't know, are we the ones who are assessing the penalty at this point?
Or does Nick?
No, that's why I want to
Yeah, I think we
get that
need
procedure
advice on this
acted
too.
on. And like you said, if Wayne comes back and says, yes, you need to start fining, and we'll convene a special meeting to your point.
So I think all three, we need to get council's advice on what the next step is, or really two, but three, because we need to send a letter out if we, just to summarize, if we're gonna pull back a little on that one, because they've made a lot of progress.
Well, I think we're gonna recommend to Wayne that the second case is we're gonna close, right?
Yeah.
We should get some counsel as to how do we officially do that, right?
Mhm.
Because I'm sure we have to notify them.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
Sure.
I second it.
Thank you.
Determine action items, I think we've gone through that. For those properties, update status of all other properties. I have a question
Yes.
too. If a property moves, and Ally, you probably can answer this too, if a property that's clearly very blighted moves into the category of hoarding, we take it out of the blight list because you're dealing with a mental health issue?
No, it doesn't necessarily come off the blight list. It still meets, but there's
Special considerations.
Different approach.
yeah, there's a whole different approach on how we need to deal with that.
And so if it continues, this is a specific property that people have called me on, and I'm not quite sure. 72,
Yes.
17-0011.
I'm familiar with that one.
Oh, yeah.
Or did I say that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh,
17,
This one.
that's.
Oh, 011.
Yeah.
01701.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how you get past the keeping the ordinance when people will say, well, look what's happening there. And if you say, it's in the process, they have a hoarding issue. I could say the same thing about
And we can't-
18-004
We can't really
has a hoarding
say
issue.
that
No,
per se. I mean, it's not diagnosed unless it's doctor diagnosed.
Oh, I see what you mean, yeah.
It's very, we need to be very careful when we,
didn't you take that class out?
Many. I think you have to say it's a possibility. There's a possibility of
Okay.
hoarding.
yes.
But I
Because I think
think you have
there's
to be
a
very careful to label
possibility-
someone as hoarding or as a hoarder.
So what you're
It's
saying,
sensitive.
the approach changes as to how
Well, so any hoarding issue in town, the fire marshal's office and human services work closely on. These are long-term
right.
issues. These are not
Right.
issues that are gonna, I don't know what the answer is. It's even more complicated than just blight, obviously.
It's a lot more
because you're-
complicated than just blight.
And it's a chronic problem.
Yes. But if the person gets clearly blighted with that issue, and then someone else says, well, you're doing nothing about that. I mean, I think there's a fine line between,
We can't say that, I think your response has to be that it's being worked on between the fire marshal's office and human services, and I think you gotta leave it at that. I don't think
But
you
it
wanna.
stays
And I-
on,
Yeah. and
Yeah,
leave
it still stays on the
watch
list.
or however you want it.
It's active, but
It's
I
active,
don't know
but
what the
it's-
answer is, to be honest. It's a
Because I
unique
think-
It's a
situation.
different road that we need to go
It's
down.
active, but
even
we're not
the
acting.
road that
Right.
we're taking with the last property could have the same kind of the issues that this.
Which one's that?
18004.
Yeah. Yeah,
I-
mean, it's a good point, Holly. I mean,
And can
There-
somebody
who are we to say
to
that
me-
one is hoarding and one is?
Right, and they
Right,
said
well,
to me
what-
on
If
this
you
one,
there's very, if you pass the 117, what's the number, what we're talking about, 0011, that's clearly potential issues.
Yeah.
There's, excessive amounts of stuff outside. But
Okay.
we have made some progress because we did assist him in getting a dumpster, and the front of the house has made some progress. I think we were just discussing this, I don't know what day it was, but this week. I don't know if you've driven past it, but since it first came onto our radar, there
And
has
they
been
have-
progress in the front of the house.
I have actually noticed that over the
I mean,
past.
He
there's
did
still
fill
work
one-
to be done, but there is
Yes.
some progress, and that
The
baby
town
steps.
did get a dumpster for there, he did fill that dumpster, and that was removed. So
We can
again,
revisit
I
that
mean,
again, do it
all we
again.
can say is with a property like that, it's a work in progress. I don't think we can go into it too much.
Yeah.
Even if
Because
it wasn't
it's a
blight,
whole
just
nother-
in general, those are complicated and take lots of time. There's, I mean, at least from, you could speak more from the fire marshal's perspective, but in terms of getting people to be up to the code or whatever the safety issues are, even that takes time, even to enforce it.
Like
There-
safety codes with dealing with inside a home.
Just people have asked questions
Sure.
and left me messages and discussing the ones that we're actively working on compared to that, and just wondering if it applies, and I did give the explanation that there were more issues there.
And again, I mean, I'm aware of which ones are possible. And so in working both with Ally and Bob, you know, we do have a strategy, and we do, you know, it's not active for me to go after right now, but we are working with the owners there.
Sounds like the recommendation of the blight control officers is not meeting quite our threshold yet, but it is an active case, active ongoing case, right?
It's ongoing. It's a sensitive topic.
Yeah.
Right.
And-
Also having to do with a senior, as we've mentioned, like that's part of the whole reason that the Human Services was getting
Yeah.
involved in the Blight Review
Which is
Board, was to
great.
be sensitive and
Correct.
to, you know, to take all those things into consideration with how aggressively you pursue them.
And I think all the ones that are possible, I think I've pretty much kept in touch with Ally and Bob. In fact, I went out to one property today to try and talk to the homeowner, so it's, you know, it's,
Ongoing process
Yeah.
of trying to engage them and work with them and be sensitive, and
Great.
it's not easy.
On update status of all other properties?
so everything else on the list, pretty much stays as is, except for the one property this evening. We did have, and you'll see it on the updated list tomorrow when I send it out, we had one other property added. I went out, inspected the property, there's no issues there. Actually went up to planning and zoning and found out that there's been a dispute between neighbors and that property owner for going back a while.
Which one's this one?
It's not on, you'll see it on,
No.
Yeah.
it'll be the last property on tomorrow's list when you get it. But there's no issues there.
Okay.
I guess there's a whole ongoing story that happened before.
If there's no issues, there's no issues.
Right.
Okay. Anything else?
Jim had discuss review process. I'm not quite sure what he meant by that.
I have to imagine it's the
Just,
discussion that we're gonna have with Wayne
Yes.
this week,
Yeah.
right? What the next steps
And I'll make sure that he's included. And if we need to call a special meeting,
done.
we'll do that.
Okay.
Great. Anything else?
After.
Okay. Adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Yes. All in
Second.
favor?